Hey everybody, it's Mrs. Kerwin with your 5 Minute 5. Today the featured genre is realistic fiction. That doesn't mean that the actual things are real. That would make it non-fiction. So it is still fiction, it's still a made-up story. However, it is called realistic because it could happen in real life, but it didn't. Usually there's characters around your age. And they're usually facing a real life problem that they have to overcome in the book. So, popular ones that you may have read already include Wonder, The Outsiders, and even Diary of a Wimpy Kid fits into realistic fiction. All the books I'm going to be talking about today are award winners, so I highly recommend them. And here we go. The first book I'm going to talk about is this one, The Wave. And you can see by the cover, it might look a little familiar to you. It kind of looks a little like a picture that would be part of Nazi propaganda. And that is for a reason. The book is based upon a true story where a high school teacher actually did an experiment with his class to answer some questions about the Holocaust. So here we go with the book talk. Have you ever wondered how so many Germans could have sided with Hitler in the Second World War? How could they have turned a blind eye on Hitler and what he was doing? And how could they be afraid of just one man? Why didn't they fight back when they saw the horrible things he was doing? One high school history class did. After asking their teacher these very questions, the teacher decided to perform the most dangerous experiment that he could ever think of. He wanted to see how power could go to people's heads and how willing people are to follow that power. So in his class, he invented something called the Wave. The Wave had a specific set of rules. It had a salute, and it had a slogan, which was strength through action, strength through community, and strength through courage. But pretty soon the Wave grew so large that it took over the entire school. There's membership cards, armbands, rallies. People are taking it way too seriously. And when a Jewish boy gets beat up, the main character, Laurie Sanders, one of the few people not in kind of a hypnotized trance about all of this, knows that the wave has to stop. But will Laurie be able to stop the wave before it's too late? Now, again, this is not a real true story. It is realistic fiction, so it's based upon a true story. But if you like stories about learning about the Holocaust and World War II, I definitely recommend this one. Okay, next is Esperanza Rising by Pam Munoz Ryan. That's this one right here. It's a beautiful story of a young girl named Esperanza who started off her life rich in Mexico. She was very wealthy. She thought she'd always live with her family on their big successful ranch in Mexico, where she had fancy dresses, a beautiful home, and lots of servants. Then a tragedy strikes. Esperanza and her mom have to run away to California, and this is during the Great Depression. She and her family have to settle in a camp for Mexican farm workers. Esperanza goes from having her own servants to having to perform hard physical labor from dusk to dawn on a farm. She and her family are no longer rich, but are poor and struggling from day to day. And they go from being respected in their own community and country to being compared to just trash in America. And just when her life couldn't get any worse, it does. Her new life is threatened. Esperanza must find a way to rise above her difficult circumstances. Her mom's life and her own depend on it. For more, read Esperanza Rising by Pam Munoz Ryan. All right, next up. Book number 3 is this one, Walk Two Moons by Sharon Creech. Okay, it's this book right here. Don't judge a man until you've walked 2 moons in his moccasins. This famous Indian saying is the main theme of the heartwarming book, Walk Two Moons by Sharon Creech. Within this story, many other inspiring quotes are found, which leaves the reader thinking not only about the importance of these quotes to the main character, but also to the reader themselves. The main character of this book is Salamanca Tree Hiddle, a sad yet thoughtful 13-year-old girl. Sal's life seems to fall apart when a family member makes a choice that has serious consequences for them all. This book is actually a story within a story. While traveling across country with her grandparents, following her mother's road trip, Sal tells the adventures of her new friend Phoebe. In discussing something that Phoebe has lost in her life, Sal learns to cope with her own problems. Will Salamanca find the answers to the questions she has about her own mother when she finally reaches Idaho across the country? So it's a road trip and it's a story within a story. And it's about a person really kind of discovering themselves through their circumstances and their families when tragedy strikes. So if you enjoy those kind of stories, I highly recommend Walk Two Moons by Sharon Creech. Okay, here's our last two. Crash, which you may have heard of. It is by the popular author Jerry Spinelli. This one. It's an interesting take on the bully victim story because it's told from the perspective of the actual bully. So here we go. Crash Coogan is a 7th grade football star, and he's been crashing into anything that's in his way from the time he started walking. Penn Webb, his nerdy, vegetarian, peace-loving neighbor, has always been his favorite target. Crash has always been a winner and thinks that he always will have everything in his life come easy to him. But know that he meets the girl of his dreams, and she is not impressed with him at all. Then, after his grandfather's stroke and his best friend Mike, who's also a bully, takes a prank against Penn a little too far, Crash takes a good look at his life and what really counts. Which side is Crash on? Which side will he choose? Read Crash by Jerry Spinelli to find out. Okay, the last book I'm going to read is this one, Notes from the Midnight Driver. And it is also by a popular author in our library, by Jordan Sonnenblick. You might recognize the author because he wrote the book Drums, Girls, and Dangerous Pie. And actually, it's pretty funny. This is not a sequel to that book. However, the two main characters in Drums actually make an appearance, what I would call a cameo appearance. So it's a little appearance in Notes from the Midnight Driver. And it's just kind of, if you're interested in that book, if you read Drums, Girls, and Dangerous Pie, you really would enjoy seeing their appearance there. It's kind of a cute thing that he did. So anyway, let me go ahead and read the actual book talk. Here we go. All right. This book talk that I'm going to say is from Alex's perspective. That's the main character. Okay, so it sounded like a good plan when I thought of it, even brilliant. I'll drink a pint of Dad's vodka, swipe my mother's car keys, and drive over to my dad's house and tell him what I thought of him cheating on my mom with my 3rd grade teacher. But what I found out is more than I expected. I smashed my car. I ended up in the middle of Mrs. Wilson's lawn with a lawn gnome that I just decapitated. Mom wasn't happy to have her first date since Dad moved out interrupted to bail me out. The cops who arrested me weren't happy about the fact that I threw up all over them. And the judge absolutely wasn't happy because she hates drunk drivers, especially ones that weren't willing to admit they'd done something wrong, and I wasn't. I mean, I hadn't hurt anyone. It was just a lawn gnome, for crying out loud. But she sentenced me to 100 hours of community service. I was supposed to go to this old folks' home and talk to one of the men who lived there, like make friends with him or something. But the guy my mom picked out for me to visit was the meanest guy I ever met. His name was Solomon Lewis, and he looked like an ancient, merciless old gargoyle, and he was rude, angry, and verbally abusive. I tried every way I could to get out of the gig, but it was impossible. The judge was determined to make me serve each and every hour of my sentence with him. I'm sentenced to babysit some insane old guy for 100 hours? What could possibly go wrong? read Notes from a Midnight Driver to find out. So, if you're interested in reading any of these books, I'm going to include a link below this post in Google Classroom that has places that you can find them for free as ebooks. So don't forget to check out the links below to get them. And don't forget to tune in next Wednesday when I do my next 5 Minute 5, and it's going to be on fantasy fiction. So thanks for watching. Keep reading.